Hello, hello. Welcome to today's live. Today we're doing your birth chart readings, answering your questions. The way to participate is to send the donation. Suggested amount is 25 and then share your information. If you want your information to be kept private, please email me at Anastasia astrology@gmail.com and specify that you would like your info to be kept private. Otherwise, you can share the information, which should include your date, time, and place of birth, as well as your question in the comment section. Okay, I'm just trying to see what light works best here. I have already one of you who sent the donation earlier, Ellen. If you are watching, Ellen, let me know. Otherwise, I did pin the comment with the information on where to send the donation, and then you can either share your birthday info as mentioned in the chat, or if you want it to be private, email it to me at Anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. So let me see. Hi, Julia. Good to see you. I am going to pull up Ellen's chart. She did ask to keep her information private, so I'm not going to share it. We're just going to look at it without sharing it. Ellen, is this you from Colorado? Hi, Yolette. How are you doing? How is everyone feeling? Are you guys noticing the confusing Mercury in Pisces? I have my Mercury in Virgo candle lit up trying to counteract the effects. Saturn in Aries, I feel like, has been stirring a lot of anger in people, a lot of anger issues. Before we start looking at charts, Ellen, let me know if you're the one who sent me the donation and not somebody else. I believe that's you, so we can start looking at your chart in a second. I was going to mention that my course begins in under 3 weeks, March 7th. It's all about predicting with solar returns, annual perfections, and transits. You get 3 major techniques all wrapped in one class, and you will learn how to forecast the future for yourself, for people in your life, how to know opportunities for love, career, money, success, etc. You can register on my website. Spots are filling up, but you can still jump on. And if you ever want to book a personal reading, face-to-face reading, to talk to me, you can book it at anastasia.astrology.com. Everything is there, my candles, all of the good things. Okay, Yolette, I see your donation as well. Let me continue with my list. So right now I have Ellen and I have Yolette. So Ellen's question was, okay, Ellen's question was, she wanted to know, how does transiting Neptune and Saturn conjunct in Aries affect my natal cardinal placements, early degrees in both Cancer and Libra? So, Ellen, I'm not sharing your chart, but I want to make sure that I got everything correctly. I see you as an Aries Sun, Cancer Moon, Leo rising. Is that correct? And if your information is correct, then the conjunction is happening in your 9th house. And then I'll have another question for you. Actually, 2 other questions. Number 1, what was happening in your life the last time Saturn was in Aries, which would be 96, 97, 98, and early the first 2 months of 99. So let's say between 96 into 99. And then another question would be, what is your relationship like to education, to publishing, writing your work, right? Publishing your work, travel, teaching, because that is where the conjunction is happening. Thank you, Julia. Julia says congratulations on getting engaged. Yolette saying my info is in the Cash App notes. Thank you. Okay, I will check it. Okay, I also see Francis just send the donation. Thank you, Francis, adding you to my list. Just a quick note, the last time we have established that if there are any commercials, or if you guys log out and then log back in, sometimes the stream picks up where you left off. So you may be not watching me in real time. So if you could, like, especially if I'm not, dealing with your reading, even if I am dealing with your reading, you can always watch it later. But if you could refresh it periodically to make sure that you're watching it in real time, that would be great, just so we're not delayed, because sometimes there are issues with delays. Okay, Ellen says in 96-99, she had just graduated from college and had her second son. Okay. And then the other question was general sort of relationship with academia, publishing, and things like that. Because what Saturn and Neptune is doing is it's activating a lot of things already present in your chart, right? You have the Sun in Aries, Moon in Cancer. That is a sign of inner tension. Aries Sun is the adventurer, the outgoing, let's just, let's go out there, let's make things happen. Moon in Cancer is more emotional, wants to be in the comfort zone, doesn't always, is like a little bit moody, right? So it could be, I'm actually doing the series on zodiac signs. I started, and I'm going to do like each zodiac sign and then all 12 combination of the sun and moon. And so I'm thinking of like Aries, Sun, Cancer, Moon as somebody who's like going out there and getting things done and being really active, but like you carry with you your favorite like cookie, or you carry with you a blanket that reminds you of your childhood. Like there needs to be some sort of something that like soothes and comforts you. This is besides the point though. It's like, I'm just sorry, I went on a not particularly related tangent, but I think it is kind of, it's kind of going to bring up, so you have Jupiter and Uranus in early sort of first and second degree of Libra, you have the moon in Cancer, you have your sun in Aries, and you have this grand, you have a T-square in your chart. So T-squares happen when you have 3 out of 4 cardinal signs represented. What's missing is Capricorn. So I think you have these sort of energies pulling you in different directions. You have your South Node and Jupiter in Libra suggesting that you can be quite a peacemaker, someone who like really values relationships. You grow through being in relationships. You think it's wise to have sort of strong connections. Your Sun in Aries really understands that it's important to be independent and nurture oneself and take risks sometimes. And your Moon in Cancer is like very strong, right? Your Sun and Moon are both very strong. The Moon in Cancer is just a lot more emotional. And that's probably something that your parents also represented, with your father being a lot more like assertive and passionate and maybe like military style, militant, like kind of warrior personality, and the moon as the mother being a lot more like emotional. And so what's missing is Capricorn. And I think the Saturn Neptune conjunction, it activates all of that, right? It's not necessarily going to bring brand new energy into your life. I think what it means, what it sort of stirs up is a lot of these like inner tensions in terms of like, how do we do things? Do we just jump into it like Aries would say? Do we balance it out and ask everybody else what they're thinking like Libra would do? Or do we sort of hang back and rest a little and follow our moods like Cancer would do? And so on one hand, like I think it's going to stir up all of that tension, and it might suggest that you will deal with some friction, some delays. So like Saturn will oppose your Jupiter, and Jupiter rules your 5th house of parenthood and children, and your 8th house of partners, money. And so there may be some type of restrictions or some type of karma that needs to be addressed in regards to children, maybe spending for children's college. Like I think ultimately what Saturn and Neptune in your 9th house wants to do is it wants you to, on one hand, kind of wrap up and let go of outdated beliefs involving religion, involving philosophy, involving way of being. There might be some sort of like ideological shift that's coming on. It also may be connected to sort of wrapping up some kind of education. You said the last time you graduated and you had your second child, which is interesting, right? Both education and the child were present at the time. So what's happening with your child right now? Is there anything that's like happening with education? Could you be taking your what you've learned, because it's also your Saturn return, it's your second Saturn return, and that always means a sense of like reorientation, going from the student or going from a worker, an employee, to being a teacher, to being a guide, to being sort of a person that influences others. But I think this opposition to Jupiter might suggest that you're, maybe that's what was going on the previous time as well, right? There is all the Saturn Neptune are really, they also want you to travel, to write, to sort of teach, to guide other people, to figure out what you believe in and then bring it into the world. But somehow it contradicts what's happening with children. It may contradict what's sort of like lucrative and financially good, right? There may be some kind of sense of like, well, I can't take a year off and write my novel because I'm supporting the family right now. And then emotionally, there could be also some kind of sense of like friction because it squares your moon. And so I wonder, maybe there is something that's coming up for you where you can, where you're like being urged. And that's also the sign of your North Node. It's also your North Node is in Aries, and like so your South North Node dynamic is getting activated as well. So there's this really strong pull to go in the direction of like writing and teaching and publishing and life coaching and traveling. And like, yeah, the previous time you graduated and you had your second son, that was probably something that maybe slowed down your personal growth, right? Because you also have this like sun moon square, like identity at odds with being a mother sometimes. And those don't have to be completely at odds, but like there's compromising that is required. Yeah, do you feel like, Ellen, is there anything that's resonating? Like, do you think there is maybe some kind of desire in you to teach, guide, influence people that this conjunction may be bringing up? I think a lot of times what this also brings is a sense of discontent with the world as it is, because Saturn and Neptune brings this sort of dissolution of something, disillusionment, and out of it, something exciting and new can be born. What did you study too? And what do you do for a living? And like, what's happening with your son that was born like nearly, what you said, like 96, 99, yeah, close to 30 years ago, because all of that can be significant right now too. You're saying you work in human resources and your son is a plumber. I mean, he's going to go through his Saturn return. That's significant. You're saying I work in construction, office work. Do you have any, what's your relationship like with writing? Would you ever want to write? Would you ever want to like study something that's maybe, because second Saturn return often suggests this kind of shift, right? The first Saturn return, which is what your son is going through, is this transition from childhood into adulthood, crossing the border. Saturn always represents boundaries and borders. The second Saturn return is you having been an adult, you having been this person who like works really hard and like gets things done. And it's almost like, how can you take everything you've learned throughout the past 29 years or so, and how can you apply it to like teach others? You're not a writer. What about travel? What about teaching? What about just like taking on a role that maybe is a little bit more like influential in terms of kind of helping other people? But that's like what I'm seeing from that. And real quick, Yolette, are you okay with me sharing your information, or would you rather it be kept private? Okay, Ellen says yes, travel. That is the direction I want to go. Yeah, I think it's about figuring out how you can, and again, like looking back at what was happening in 96, 99, and it's not exactly the same because Neptune is in the mix, and Neptune creates this sort of like dreamy quality. And so Saturn and Neptune together can be like, how do I bring my dreams and turn them into reality? How do I build a structure around those dreams that I have? And sometimes you may have to compromise and sort of slow down, and you may see delays in regards to travel, but it's also very much, it's a good time to sort of commit to travel or commit to some kind of course of study or commit to teaching other people, maybe even volunteering somewhere where you can like nurture people and help people. You're renewing your passport. Okay, that's cool. And who knows, when you go to travel, there may be spiritual experiences that are waiting for you. You may go on an adventure and realize that you want to like learn Reiki healing or sound bowl healing or something else. You do have that moon in the 12th house, and that can often be a sign of spiritual enlightenment and adventures that change you. You're saying I can see that I could nurture people. Yeah, you got moon in Cancer. That's like level 100 nurturer. So, Ellen, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for being the first person to go today. Makes sense with your Aries sun and other planets in Aries, a lot of Aries placements. I think ninth house is all about like adventures, and adventures can be so different. For some people, it's travel. For other people, it's studying. For other people, it's writing a novel, right? There's a lot of possibilities. Okay, Yolette says, just in case, Leo rising. Mm-hmm. So Yolette, what is the question specifically? I can see your information in the Cash App, but are you wondering about thinking, is this the question? Kind of like, is it a good time to change schools for your kids? Ellen says, you're awesome and thanks for a great reading. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And if Saturn in the ninth house directs you towards learning astrology, don't forget that my course begins in March and it will be all about forecasting the future. So join me and consider studying. Okay, so Yolette says she wants her information to be kept private. Let's put it in. Makes sense. You're Scorpio Mars, right? You're like, I want it private. No need for sharing this unnecessary information. No need for unnecessary sharing of information, rather. And there it is, Scorpio Mars indeed. Okay, so the list as it stands right now is Yolette and Francis. And I can definitely take a few more people. And the way to get on the list is to send the donation. Suggested amount is 25. You can pay more if you are happy to share. If you can pay less, if you can't afford 25. But once you send the donation, I will need your birthday information, date, time, and place. You can either share it in the comments if you're okay with it being public. If you want it to be private, email me at anastasia.das.astrology@gmail.com or put it in the comments as well when you send a payment. And and then ask me your question. The question, I do ask that you prioritize a single question, just because these are a shorter reading. If you're looking for like a full-sized face-to-face conversation, Anastasia.astrology.com is where you should go to book a reading. Okay, so hi, Gloria the dancer. Okay, so Yolette, you said Leo rising and sun, Pisces moon. I see that. You're saying you have a son who's a Leo rising, Aries sun, Leo moon. Look at all the Leo. Daughter who's a Sag rising, Leo sun, Sag moon. Okay, so, and then you're saying we can do general. Was wondering if that's the best time to change schools for them. So you have a Leo rising sun and the Sag rising daughter. And look at that. So Ellen was a Leo rising, and she was wondering about Saturn and Neptune in her 9th house. And Yolette is a Leo rising, and Saturn and Neptune just went into her 9th house. So Saturn, Neptune, that's interesting that you're wondering about schools, because 9th house is connected to education and travel and legal matters. And when it goes in the 9th house, it makes these questions more important. It also brings up issues with authorities and sometimes teachers. So if you are, let's say, unhappy with teachers in a particular school and you're looking to change, that would make a lot of sense. Let's see. So, so your house of children is ruled by Jupiter in Capricorn. Saturn is going to square Jupiter in Capricorn. Definitely, there's definitely a sense of like maybe there's some kind of tension that is going on that requires attention. What I do like is the fact that by transit, Jupiter is right now in Cancer, and that is quite supportive. And you also have Venus in Pisces getting closer to conjoin your moon. And we have an eclipse in the 7th house. But most of all is, I think, this like Saturn, Neptune. Yolette, what was happening in your life with schools and stuff, if you remember, between 96, 99? Were there any changes? Were there any issues with teachers? Is there any similarity between what was going on in your life and what's happening with your children, and like the reasons why you're changing schools? And let me take a look at some transits. Okay, waiting for Yolette's response. I'm looking at the transits as well. I do wonder if the better time to potentially change schools for your kids would be more in May. Okay, you're saying I was going from middle school to high school. Did you like your teachers at the time? Were there any maybe restrictive, controlling people, or people who tried to control you and you didn't necessarily agree with them? So I think I like May as a better time to be changing schools. I feel like there is perhaps, I don't know, doesn't it make sense to wait until the school year is over and then change schools for them? That's potentially what's coming through for me at this point. I mean, there is a Saturn Jupiter square in March, which might indicate like Jupiter rules your house of children. And so when Saturn squares it, there may be, you're kind of like moving through some kind of problems and obstacles. And I feel like you can handle problems and obstacles. I see your beautiful, strong Mars in Scorpio. But there may be some obstacles in March. Maybe you try to change schools, but things can get like, there could be a little bit of like obstacles and delays connected to that. I can give you some good dates that I think are potentially quite nice that maybe will happen sooner. For example, so Mars rules the house of education, and Venus will be trining your Mars in a few days here. And that could be potentially beneficial. I just feel like also knowing that Mercury is going to go retrograde from February 26 until March 20 definitely feels like things will be delayed. Like a lot of things that involve dealing with other people may get delayed. But around March like 3rd, Venus is trining your Mars, and Mars is the ruler of the house of education. And then we have the Mercury Cazimi on March 6th, 7th. That can also be a good time to send important messages or like reach out to people and ask for help. Yolette says, in terms of the last time Saturn was in Aries, had a very strict father. School change will be for the next school year. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's better. I didn't realize that you were thinking of doing it next year. I thought you were wondering about doing it right now. Yeah, I think it is a pretty decent time to do it. I think Saturn being in the 9th house does indicate that there may be some delays or obstacles. That there may be some people who are like teachers or people in power, authority figures that behave in ways that don't create a ton of respect for them. So I guess, yeah, try your best to look for good teachers, because that could be the place where things are a bit more tough this year. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions in regards to this. To people who are watching, I have Yolette and Francis on my list, and then the list is open for today. I can still take like a couple more people, so do let me know if you're interested. The way to get on the list is to send a donation. Suggested amount is 25. You can send less if you can't afford 25. You can send more if you're feeling like it. I would be very thankful. There's a link pinned. There's also link in the description to this video. And then once you send the donation, share your date, time, place of birth, either in the comment section if you're okay with it being public, or email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com and ask your question as well. Prioritize a single question just because we are doing multiple people today. Okay, Yolette, let me know if you have any follow-up thoughts on this. And I see Francis. Francis also wants to be private. Everybody is sticking to being private today. What is the moon doing? The moon is in Aquarius. We're hyper aware of public things, I guess, today. Okay, Francis. And Francis, jump on. Let me know if you're here. I hope you're here. You're welcome, Yolette. Mona 1930. Are you Francis? So I have a Virgo sun, Libra moon, Aries rising for you. Is that correct? Oh, I see. Okay. I see. Yes, let me know if that is correct. Okay, you're saying it is correct. The question is, you're wondering if you will get pregnant soon or this month. You've been doing IVF and find out Monday if you are pregnant. Well, good luck, and I hope you are. Let me see. So you'll find out on Monday. Next Monday. So next week, right? I want to try to see if I can do a horary chart, which is basically just asking the question, like, we can be like, when will Francis get pregnant? And see if it, like, what it says. I don't do a lot of these, so I might, if I don't see anything specific, I might, not necessarily elaborate on it, but I just want to real quick look at that to see if it speaks to me. There is a really exciting transit coming your way in regards to children for a full year from June 30. And so I think, like, my gut feeling tells me that yes, most likely you're going to get pregnant because Jupiter in the fifth house is this sort of very, you know, very like baby focused, very fertile transit. Okay. So what I'm seeing in this horary chart, which I guess I can share because it doesn't have your information. Let us share it. It's sort of very interesting. Okay, so I think this is really, really exciting because Leo rising represents you, and your fifth house of children is Leo, right? And so okay, so what I'm seeing here is you are Leo. So Leo rising represents you. You are the sun. What's fascinating is the moon that's about to conjoin the sun because we're about to get an eclipse. And so they're about 7 degrees apart. And in 7 degrees, which degrees often mean days, weeks, months, they represent time units, the two are going to conjoin. And this is like such a impregnation pregnancy type of energy. So I feel like it's a yes. I think this looks like the moon is going towards you and like in 7 time units there's going to be like a positive news. I mean, I don't want to be like I want to be a little bit sort of hesitant to tell you that's like, oh my god, 100%, but this chart looks really, really sort of nice for the kind of thing we're talking about. Okay, so the ruler of the house of children is Saturn, and Saturn rules you very much. So it might also suggest that like your focus is very strong right now on the baby and the pregnancy because Saturn rules both the sun and the moon. Yeah, it looks like really good. I think Saturn is in Aries. Saturn is in its fall. Francis says, cool, I had never seen honorary charts. Yeah, it's called a horary chart. Like hora, I think, means hour. So it's horary, Horary. And it's very much like tarot, in a sense that you ask a question and you pull a chart, and I pulled it for my time. So all you need to know is like you need the person with the burning question, and you need to know, and then I pull my time because I'm the one asking it on your behalf in my location. So it definitely looks like it looks like in 7 days there's going to be this type of conjunction, which looks promising to me. What gives me a little bit of a pause is the fact that the planet that rules the baby is in the dark house, and that it is in the sign of its fall. And so that might be a sign of like maybe it's a sign that it can't be seen yet. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure like what to make out of it. I feel like that might suggest that. Are there any other aspects? So this is the baby, this is you. What does the moon rule? The moon rules 11th house, which is connected to like dreams and stuff. You know what it could suggest? It could suggest that maybe it's like important for you to take good care of your health, I think, because there might be like a bit of a suggestion that you have to like watch out your health. This just sort of gives me a bit of a pause, because I think this might suggest that like there's a little bit of like read the fine print, or be ready for some kind of like delays or slowdowns or something like that. You're saying because it's IVF, we already know gender boy. If you are pregnant now, what would be the baby's due date? Maybe that's what the Saturn means. Maybe that means that you're going to have a baby on Venus retrograde, and maybe that's all it is. It's like just a sign that the child is going to be a very intense and passionate being, or having a Sagittarius baby. No, that's is it? Could it be a Sagittarius baby? It looks like a fire baby potentially. October, November. Okay, so more, yeah, definitely a Venus retrograde baby. So that might be what this means, that there's going to be some kind of intensity to the child. I don't know. I just feel like this sun moon conjunction, that like there's this moon which is always connected to like motherhood and women moving towards you, and it's going to conjoin in 7 days. That to me just like it's like a very loud testimony. And the moon here rules the house of like dreams and wishes. And so I don't think it's wishful thinking on my part. I think I am seeing it here. But I do wonder if Saturn in the sign of its fall does suggest that, like, because, you know, I'm seeing this as like 7 days, which is because I know that you're going to the appointment in 7 days, but this could also suggest that it's like 7 weeks, or it could be 7 months. So I would just add that I think Saturn ruling the house of children in this dark house might suggest, like, the one thing it could suggest is that like the baby is like hiding and you can't see it yet. I feel like I'm just like imagining things at this point. Okay, I'm just gonna like wrap it up by saying that I think what I might not be very precise with is the length of time. Like, part of, like, I want to think that it's 7 days and you're gonna go in like next week it's gonna tell you 100% yes, you're pregnant. But I wonder if, you know, I wonder if it's like 7 weeks or 7 months, and maybe there is some kind of like delay that Saturn represents. You're saying I had a dream it was a boy before I found out anything. You had a dream before you even knew for sure. Cecilia says, what website do you use to pull up a horary chart? So I use a software that I use professionally for all of my readings. It's called Solar Fire. Yeah, it is called Solar Fire. There's really only two. There's Astro Gold and Solar Fire, but you can totally pull up a horary chart on Astro-Seek. All you'll do is you'll go into their birth chart, kind of birth chart calculator, and you would pull the time for, you basically pull the time of right now when you're asking the question, and you can do it for a lot of different questions. I like to do it a lot for relationship questions because I think those are quite easy to figure out. And the house system that traditionally people use for horary charts is Regiomontanus. It says it right here. So it's tropical zodiac, traditional Western astrology favored zodiac, and Regiomontanus. Good luck, Francis. I hope things go well. It's definitely interesting that you are ruled, like your planet here is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the ruler of the children's house. Maybe it is this next week. Maybe it's, I want to be like, I'm cautiously optimistic, basically. You're welcome. Do let me know, even if it's just like to share. I don't know. You can email, or you can leave a comment and say, obviously, no pressure. It's a very personal thing, so don't share it if you don't feel comfortable. But like, if you ever, if later on you're reflecting on this, and let's say you're already like in the safe space and you want to let me know, I would appreciate it. Okay, so what did I think I saw another donation. Okay, I have Devin. Devin, let me know if you are here and watching. The way to get on the list is to send the donation. Suggested amount is 25, and you can use the link in the description or in the pinned comment. And once you do, you can share your birthday information, date, time, and place, either in the chat if you're okay with it being public, or email me at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com and share it and mention that you want it to be private, and then ask me the question. Hi, Devin. Did you share your birthday info anywhere? And if you didn't, could you share it now in the chat, or could you email it to me if you want it to be private? Okay, you're saying not yet. Yeah, please share your info. And thank you everyone who's watching, who's asking questions. Always appreciate it. I have been feeling Mercury in Pisces as a whole lot of confusion. I've been burning my Mercury in Virgo candle a lot. Devin, can you tell me your email again? Sorry, I'm slow right now. LOL. No worries. It's the same as my name, Anastasia Does Astrology, but they're periods. Anastasia period does period astrology @gmail.com. And so right now, Devin is the next person on the list, and the list is open. I can still take probably 2 more people, 3 more people. Let me know if you'd like to ask your question. I do ask for a donation. There is a suggested amount, and the link is in the pinned comment and the description. If you're watching continuously, you probably have heard me say this a million times already, but people come and go sometimes, so. Okay, so waiting for Devin's information. Have you guys noticed Saturn ingressing into Aries? It could have maybe increased melancholy. It maybe encouraged you to deal with conflicts and anger, and also perhaps forced you to deal with authority figures that have questionable actions that maybe you're disagreeing with. Heman Gurum? I'm not sure what you mean. You're saying I am outside when reply me? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Okay, I'm waiting for Devin, who said it'll take a minute. Let me see. I'll just close some of the charts to kind of clear it up. Thank you for being patient as we wait. Devin, do let me know when you send that email through so I know, so we can be efficient with our time used today. Heman Gurung, these are donation-based readings. I do ask for a payment. Suggested amount is $25. There are links in the description and in the pinned comment. And I can analyze your chart after that. I can't really, I feel like in order to picture this, I'd have to look at your chart. I can't just, because you're saying you're rising and Pluto and Venus and Mercury. I would have to look at more things than that. Okay, Devin, I think I got your information. Would you prefer I keep it private, or is it okay to share your chart? Either is fine with me. So for people who are watching who'd like to get on the list, please send your donation using the links in the description or in the pinned comment. And once you do, share your information either via email at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com or in the pinned comments. I need your date, time, place of birth. And then after that, I will need your question. Okay. I'm pulling Devin's chart. Okay, Devin says you can share. Does it show my birth info? It would, yes, but I can also hide your birth info and just show the chart itself, unless the question is about transits. In that regard, in that way, I probably won't be able to show the transits because for some reason it does want to show the birth information in that case. But tell me your question and we'll see. I can also just show your chart without the date, time, place of birth. Okay, Devin says, do you see how love life and career will be like this year? You're saying I'm okay with that if you can hide. Okay, so you'd like me to hide your birthday info. So I will only be able to show, this way I'll only be able to show your natal chart as mentioned. But let us see. Okay. Sabika, look at that. Look who's in the house. It's really good to see you. I don't know if you've caught my lives in the past. Beautiful Libra lady with the steamy Venus and Scorpio. Hello, hello. Okay, so Devin. Sorry, got distracted by beautiful Libra ladies. Okay. So, is this correct for you in terms of Libra sun, Taurus moon, and Pisces rising? Sabika says you still remember best readings ever. Oh, thank you. Mutual Libra admiration with my Libra Mercury and ascendant and south node. Okay, Devin says yes. So, okay, so I wouldn't be able to show the transits, but I can, I can pretty much picture them because I look at them a lot as is. So you're wondering how your love life and career, what your life and career will be like this year. Okay, so for love life, we have an eclipse coming up. So there's been a lot going on with eclipses in Pisces and eclipses in Virgo throughout, kind of starting in September 2024. We've had the first lunar eclipse in Pisces, and then we've had a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025, a solar eclipse in Virgo in September 2025. What was happening in your love life in March and September 2025? What this eclipse energy really wants is for you to release fears, perfectionism, any sort of critical tendencies in relationships, to maybe rethink the kind of partners you attract. There is a sense of like purification that's going on with South Node in the seventh house. It might suggest that your partner can also be going through a sense of cleansing and purifying, that maybe they're experiencing some kind of spiritual upliftment and change in their life. There can definitely be really big new beginnings because we had, especially that solar eclipse we had in September, could have been significant. And let's not forget also that Jupiter is in your fifth house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children up until June 30 this year. So that can also be suggesting that there are even are you single or are you in a relationship? Because I think if you're single, that could be a sign of a new person coming into your life. If you're in a relationship, that could even be a sign of pregnancy, birth of a child, and some type of like joy, more pleasure, more fun in a relationship. You're single. Okay, so you may notice the bounty of Jupiter come through a lot stronger from March 10th. What's exciting too, and let me see if I can pull up some transits for you without necessarily sharing any of the data. I think I can. Okay, so okay, so Jupiter will be trining your Venus in a little bit here, and that could be a really powerful romantic time. Jupiter actually trines your ascendant in April on the 7th. It sextiles your moon on the 11th. It trines your Venus in May. So there are a lot of possibilities romantically, I think, around that time. And the eclipse on the 3rd of March is really powerful for relationships as well. So this window, right, of Virgo eclipses continues all the way into February 2027. So you're in this like big portal right now that lasts almost 2 years of eclipses in the first and seventh houses. Hi, Mike. Yes, I do have a room for one more reading for sure. I only have one person on the list presently, so you can definitely jump on and be next. So I think that is important for relationships. The ruler of your seventh house of partnerships is Mercury, right? So you're probably attracted to foreign people quite a lot, well-educated people who can speak a different language, who are maybe can talk to you about secrets and intimate things, no small talk, just sort of deep truths. And what do we think professionally? So your career house is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter natally is in Libra. You have your North Node here. So this could be the sector of your life that takes a while to develop, because your South Node tends to be more prominent in people's lives up until the age of 42. It's not always exact, but sometimes we kind of tend to live our South Node quite strongly. And so for you, it's in the house of home and family, and it might suggest that early in life, you either spend a lot of time or are influenced by your family, or maybe you even carry certain notions that were impacted by the family. And what you're developing with time professionally is, I think, a little bit more trust, a little bit more, like, a lot of it will be about self understanding, and also maybe finding some type of like calling and mission and purpose. But a lot of it, like, there might be this sort of hunger for a purpose, right? And thinking that like it has to be this one thing, like you have to figure it out, while really what you're meant to do is like adventure and explore, and I think tap into your spirituality and go. And it's more about self understanding than finding one sense of purpose or one calling. But there might also be a spiritual aspect to your career. And so I think having Jupiter in Cancer, being generally Jupiter being in charge of your house of career, is also quite positive. I think right now for discovering passions and interests and maybe exploring your creativity. Once Jupiter goes into Leo from June 30, and once South Node goes into Leo from July 26th, and North Node goes into Aquarius, there's going to be an interesting shift where you might abandon some type of work that is in a service industry, that involves problem solving, that involves the grind and sort of grimy, difficult burdens carrying things. And you might go more into the direction of being a healer, a creator, an imaginative person. And this would be similar professionally, similar energy to 2008, 2009. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, maybe it's time for you to study astrology, Devin. Maybe it's time for you to join my course, because all of these 9th house, 12th house vibes. We start on March 7th. Come learn predictive astrology with us if you're interested in it. Okay, so before I said that, you were saying, yes, you're right. You're so right. That resonates. You're in social work. Yeah, so there will be some interesting changes. You're saying I love astrology. I am so into it. Yeah, how can you not? I mean, I am biased, right? But you're welcome, Devin. I'm glad it resonated so much. Makes me happy when you're happy. La 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 la. Okay, Mike is next. Hi, Mike. I saw your Venmo. If you don't mind sharing your information again, that would be lovely. Okay, thank you for sending the email. And I could probably take another person or two if there are people interested. Just keep in mind that you can still jump on the list. In order to do that, use the link in the description or in the pinned comments, and the donation suggested amount is $25. And once you do that, either share your information in the comments or email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. So just as my YouTube name, but periods between words. And you can specify if you want your info private or public. Sabika says, I'm after. Please, thank you. Hooray. Okay, sounds good. Okay, Mike is sending an email. I could, yeah, okay, Mike. Will it be a relationship question, Mike? A Libra rising? The Libra risings want to know relationship things a lot of times. Okay, you're saying sent. Kind of. Okay. Let me check. Don't see it yet. For people watching, if you're also ever confused by the email, you can send it to info@anastasia.astrology.com. Okay, I see your question, Mike. And what are we doing in terms of sharing your chart? Yes, no, maybe, private, public? Sabika, what time is it there for you? Isn't it like middle of the night? Okay, Mike says you can share, it's all good. Okay. The question is regarding the rest of this month. Is there anything I should be aware of love and career-wise? Well, how has Saturn been affecting you in terms of love in the 7th house? Any friction? Have you noticed any stressful conversations? Any focus on commitment or pressure on the partner at all? So let us see. You're saying, oh boy, a bit with my current girlfriend. So yeah, that's something. You're saying it's been a weird one, intense one last night in particular. Yep. As a Libra rising, I am right there with you. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Okay. So you're wondering about love and career. Let's look at your transits just to see if there's anything big that's going on. So Saturn is trining your midheaven in Leo, and Uranus is conjoining your Mars. Okay, that would be one for the books, for the shakeups. So that's interesting because these are literally activating your career sector and relationship sector. So the big deal is, of course, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. We've had it building up, and we've had a preview of this in June, July, August 2025 when the two went into Aries and hung out in the same sign. So what was happening in June, July, August in regards to love? Uranus is conjoining your Mars, and Mars rules your house of relationships. Mars also rules your partner. And so sometimes Uranus shakes things up. Let's actually see when you dealt with that before as well, because that would be a repeat of the transits too. So there's a lot of like third act of things, I think. So Uranus conjoined your Mars in May, June 2025, and in December 2025, January 2026. And that is about relationship. That is about breakdowns, breakthroughs. That is about things being shaken up in order to sort of, I think what is necessary here is to learn how to deal with conflict, how to approach frustration, how to express oneself, even if things like feel tense or uncomfortable, and like learning how to fight. So that might be something that you're learning with Uranus Mars conjunction. And so definitely reflect on the previous two, May 29th, December 30 last year, and give it a month on each side. And the third last one is March 10th. So there will be a lot of restless energy, and you can work through it, right? You can work on it through like exercise and sex and experimentation in the bedroom, or like some kind of controlled expression of the physical passionate energy. If you don't address it, it might spill over and result in conflicts. You're saying interesting in December was when my girlfriend and I took a week of space. What prompted that? Because if there is anything that's unresolved, it might be coming back around and it might be asking for another opportunity to look at it. So what's interesting is Saturn trining your midheaven on the 3rd of March is quite a positive professionally time. I think it can suggest that you're like finding better balance between relationships and work. There may be some kind of recognition. All the while, of course, Mercury is retrograding from the 26th of February until March 20. I wonder if you'll get recognition for the project that you've completed in the past. Oh, right. Okay. I feel like I remember this. So you're saying you had an argument because you did not like that she was hanging out with an ex. Has that been resolved? Or can that be something that comes back around? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. I think you maybe will be dealing with some fine-tuning, readjusting things professionally, but at the same time, there is like a good rewarding, stable energy with the Sun midheaven aspect. Sorry, Saturn midheaven aspect. So maybe even some kind of review or you problem solving results in recognition, but it's not without problems because of Mercury being retrograde. So do let me know if you have follow-up questions. Sabika, I see your donation. Thank you. I have your info, so you don't need to send me your information because we've done a few readings at this point. But if you want to jot down your question in the comments, that would be great. And yeah, Mike, if you have any like follow-up things, you can also let me know. Okay. Mike says, I think it was kind of resolved. I did say I did not agree with it, and we agreed to all meet. Yeah, I think the Uranus-Mars conjunction, that March 10th, that reflects on the last year transits. Mars is the ruler of the relationship house, and Uranus is the planet of like illumination and shaking things up, and it's the planet that represents freedom. And so there may be some kind of issues around like control and freedom, and maybe allowing the partner more freedom, working on like trusting them without necessarily like sacrificing what you believe, but also not trying to control someone because that never ends well. So perhaps you've learned it in December, and this transit in March is just an opportunity to do things differently. Hi, Jekyll. Virgo rising in the house. Hello, hello. You're saying I've been doing what you told me. What did I tell you? I don't remember. Anne of Arc says, hi, I just wanted to let you know that a video you put out a couple of days ago, and you said that Aries would stop doing something and their lives would change. It was 100% accurate for me. That is awesome. I'm glad. Virgo rising, indeed. Okay, Mike says, so in career, I've been working on something with a firm and I'm hoping to finish it. Would that be happening soon, you think? Yeah, I think it could be, but like just know that Mercury retrograde can always slow things down, right? And can complicate things, and it's a 3-part story. So whatever is happening now during the retrograde will need to be reviewed, and then Mercury goes direct on the 20th, and that's when things wrap up. So that might be is what will be coming up. Okay, Sabika saying, I want to know why my ex-boyfriend contacted me, the one I was with him for 9 years, and he's engaged a couple of months ago. Well, he spoke to me. Condolences for my cousin dying a few days ago. I'm so sorry about your cousin, but he doesn't want to stop talking, told me all about what happened with him, and didn't mention anything that he's getting married. I feel like this guy is having some issues, and he's potentially trying to squeeze himself into your life to mess things up for you, maybe. Okay, you're saying even the guy who owns me money, he texted me to send condolences and didn't pay. Did he acknowledge the fact that you asked him for the money? What is going on? Oh, okay, Jekyll. Yes, Mars and Aquarius in the 6th. I think I remember that. The rituals, right? And like the exercise and stuff, I think. Health things. Sabika says, I have no space to squeeze myself. Leave me alone. I want to love someone new. Leave me alone. Okay, let's take a look at like your chart. I don't know if we can tell completely what's going on with someone else, right? We don't know. Like, I don't have his chart to be like, what is he doing? But I can see maybe there is something that is pointing like your life and maybe what's happening in your love life, right? And like relationships, new relationships, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the gist that you'd like to know. Or tell me what you'd like to know. Sounds like a lot of drama. Sounds like people are drawn to your charming Venus and Scorpio, but do not. His chart is in the toilet. Sounds like it. Sounds like his chart indeed is in the toilet. Okay, wait. So you put it in the email as well, right? So you said, I want to know why my ex-boyfriend contacted me, the one, he's engaged. Send condolences. And you said you don't mind showing your chart. You're too funny. What is this? What is this? Is this your Aquarius moon? Very funny. Very, very like we have so much drama, but let's be detached about it and let's make it let's make it into a fun story. Okay. So I mean, I wonder if you're already feeling the Mercury retrograde effects, but let us see what else is going on. Okay, so Mars is the ruler of your house of relationships, right? Pluto has been hanging out next to your Mars, and Saturn and Neptune are entering your 12th, and they're actually getting really close to aspecting your Mars as well. So that's interesting because Saturn Neptune is the 12th house, and in the 12th house we often have secret enemies, and sometimes with Saturn transiting through the 12th house, which is going to be a longer term transit, there may be some sort of issues with like unresolved relationships, unhealed wounds, maybe some type of sense that you have to like distance yourself from people who don't have your best interest at heart. What was happening, if you remember, what was happening in your like life, relationships, and anything, I guess you can remember when you were like 10, 11, 12, 96, 97, 98, early 99? You're saying I do booked a ticket today and the times changed after paying. The times you booked ended up changing? How is it possible? Why would they do that? You're saying they better leave me. I'm done. Yeah, I feel like with like Saturn Neptune in the 12th, it's all about closing chapters, right? Like on this larger scale, you're entering the 2 years, 2 months of Saturn in the 12th house, a lot of like wrapping things up, letting things go, healing what hasn't been healed. It's going to also emphasize your natal north node, which is about independence and self-discovery, which is at odds to your sun in Libra, which could be this like, joyful and like charming, but it really wants you to like say no and tell to some people to go F themselves and sort of connect with like your independent spirit. And so there may be a little bit of like a question right now with how do you deal with these people, because like you don't, I was just thinking about it, and I have a reel that I filmed that I'm going to post soon, but like Saturn in Aries can create a lot of issues around like authority and leadership and anger. And think of like Saturn is about rules and restrictions and sort of logistics of things, and Aries is like a child. It's impatient, it's impulsive, and so a lot of times we end up like not always knowing how to behave. There may be like anger, there may be a tendency to yell at someone or slam doors or be sort of, forceful. And what really Saturn wants is for you to discover like your way to express anger, not to suppress it, not to be like, oh, I'm a Taurus rising Libra sun, everybody likes me and this is who I am. But it's sort of like, I think it wants you to be frustrated, and it allows you to ask uncomfortable questions, but do so without, again, sort of sacrificing your Libra-ness. You're saying I moved from UK to Kuwait, missing dad there. Is your dad in UK? And let's see. Okay, so what other things? So you are born in 86. So you are 39. 39 is the fourth house year. So it's also activating your sun. The sun is in its fall in Libra. In regards to all of the people pleasing and being too focused on other people, and sometimes not knowing how to say no, or not knowing how to be very much like Aries, right? The sun is exalted in Aries because Aries is just like, I'll do me. Libra always knows and is always like kind of plugged in with other people. So I think you being 39 may be activating all of these themes also of like fallen leaders or fallen male figures. And so another maybe opportunity to like redefine what people want from you or how they deal with you. You're saying he was, but he's here now. Okay. Yeah, so I think this like Saturn Mars aspect might be why people from the past are knocking on your door. I don't think that's good news, because it doesn't seem like they're good news. Like literally this guy is, you're saying, engaged, right? And and he's reaching out to you, and the guy who owes you money reaches out to you to send condolences. You're like, I don't need your condolences, send me my money. What is up with people? Um so yeah, so maybe all of these things are like your opportunities to kindly tell them to go up themselves, I think. And it's maybe like sort of a chance to practice, right? We have in Russia, we have this I can't remember the name of the movie, but the guy, it's like a story of these guys that are about to steal something, and as one of them trains, he gets a bunch of cat sculptures and he breaks cats, and he's like, I'm training on these cat sculptures. So it's almost like you're getting these people that are maybe not as important in your life to train on, to train like saying no to, and train being assertive with, and even asking them, right? Like your ex reached out to you, you can be straightforward. You can be like, aren't you getting married? Like, what do you have to lose? And with this guy that owes you money, like continuing to pester him, like not giving up, right? So yeah, I think they're just challenging you. You're saying I'm not kind. But you also are. You're also very charming and very friendly and very like, at least maybe, I saw that of you only. I'm sure you probably have different sides to you, but um but you're very much being put in this position of being at odds with people. You're saying, "No, I was smart. I acted dumb. Think like a man." What do you mean? Did you ask for your money? Or did you tell the ex, why is he reaching out to you? So, okay, I think I'm officially gonna say I can take one more person. If anybody else wants to jump on and be next, do let me know. Jekyll says my North Node is with my rising with Saturn retrograde in Virgo. I'm feeling like, yes, I'm giving 0 Fs at the time. Good. That's like, there is a book, I think, titled like that. Jekyll says, I was going to ask, what country are you from? Russia. I'm a little bit international. I was born in Kazakhstan, and then I lived in Russia from like 6 to 9, and then I lived in Turkmenistan from 9 to 11, and then I lived in Russia again, and then I've been here in the States for a very long time, longer than I've been anywhere else. Mike says, why are exes always trying to reach out? Because there is probably something unresolved. I think the moment things are resolved, they will not reach out. At least that has been my experience. I feel like the moment you almost like let that go in your head, you move on and they tend to move on. Mike says, I'm anti-exes. Exes need to stay in the past. Sabika says, I don't. X is an X for a reason. Da 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 da. Yeah, Sabika, do you have any follow-up questions? I feel like, again, I can't really tell what's going on in this guy's head, but I think you're getting a bit of a challenge to like express things that are hidden, perhaps through the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, in a way that's not too forceful, but also not in the way that is passive, where you kind of getting to assert yourself and stand up for yourself. I mean, you do have, right? Like looking at your chart too, you do have Mars at the top of your chart. So there is very much like get things done, masculine energy to you, but you also have the moon here, and the moon would be quite sensitive to things. So it's, it's like more complicated. Sabika says, no, nothing is not resolved. He's bored. Maybe his future wife was sleeping around or something. Maybe. But like, do you need that energy in your life? Do you feel like there's something unresolved? You're saying I'm complicated, but thank you. Yeah, you are. Lucky UF2FZ, you're saying, do you do synastry readings on this live? Like more sort of surface level synastry readings, just what I can see without deep analysis, because whenever I do relationship readings, I spend like an hour. Any reading I do, I spend like 30 minutes to an hour analyzing it before the session. So I can, I can definitely like tell you what I see, but for like full analysis, I'd recommend getting a proper relationship reading. But if you'd like sort of a more first impressions, I can definitely do it. And yes, the suggested amount for donation is 25. You can send more, you can send less if you can't afford it, more if you feel really generous today. And you might be the last person. I think I'm going to take one more person and then wrap up. Lucky says, okay, for a brief overview. Yes, that's okay. Yeah, we can definitely do like a brief one. And thank you, Sabika, for jumping on and watching the live. Let me stop sharing your chart on the screen. Lucky says, I'll send on PayPal. Jekyll says, Anastasia, I notice I see many Virgo placements, Gemini placements into astrology. What do you think? Makes a lot of sense. It's a Mercury. Both of those are Mercury ruled signs. And Mercury is Hermes in Greco-Roman myth. And Mercury is the only god that moves freely between heavens and hell, right? Heavens and underworld. And Mercury is endlessly curious. And so with Virgo and Gemini, I also see it a lot with Scorpio placements, because I think Virgo and Scorpio share the desire to kind of control and manipulate the world a little bit. But yes, for sure, Virgo wants to drill deeply and understand things, and Gemini is just deeply curious and very childlike as well. Okay, Lucky, I do see your payment. If you are okay with sharing information in the chat, do drop the date, time, place of birth of both people in the chat, or email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. You can also send it to info@anastasia.astrology.com, whichever. And yeah, I assume you are looking, as you said, for a brief synastry analysis. So I'd need info for both people. And also tell me if you want it to be private or not. Mike says, I've always heard that water signs are the most intuitive and psychic. Is this true? Yeah, but I think Virgos are intuitive. I've actually heard this from Kay Taylor. I believe her name is Kay Taylor. I took a relationship class with her, and she mentioned that Virgos are deeply intuitive because Virgos notice all the little details. Virgos just tend to overthink their intuition. But with water signs, yeah, there is sort of emotional ability to pick up on signals. I think water signs see more deeply, and they're more attuned with their emotions, so they can read other people's feelings. Thank you, Lucky, for sending an extra amount. That's nice of you. Okay. So you're saying you don't have the birthday information for one of you guys, right? Is it okay to share it, or would you like it to be private? Okay, you're saying you don't know his birth time. Well, I can just not share my screen. You're asking how could we do it private? I'll just not show the information, but you're saying it's okay to share. Maybe if you can just cover the info. Yeah, I don't think I can cover the info for two charts. I can only cover the info for a single person's chart. So I might just not share it and look at it on my own. Okay, let me put his information in. And I'll just ask you about the sun, moon, and rising, if you know them, especially for you. Okay, so for you, I have Pisces sun, Sagittarius moon, Cancer rising. And for him, I have Aries sun, possibly Aries moon, but probably Aries sun, Aries moon. Does that sound familiar? I also, by the way, I also see a lot of Virgo risings into astrology. I feel like Virgo risings share that a lot. Jekyll says Virgo, they read right through you. Yes. Yeah, we see a lot of things. We don't always say it, but we see it. Okay, Cancer rising, that sounds right. Aries moon. Those are tough. Well, I don't know. I'm not. Well, for you, for your Cancer moon, Mike, that makes sense, but it's not going to be tough for everyone. For Lucky, for example, she's a Sagittarius moon, so the guy having Aries moon makes a lot of sense. That would work. That would work together. Okay, let me close the list officially. If there is anyone who wants to be like the very last person, I can still take one person, but otherwise I'm just gonna say it's closed so we don't run into multiple people all getting sort of crowded together. Okay, so we're talking about compatibility, right? So let's see. So Pisces and Aries are actually in contra antitia to one another, I believe. So even though traditionally they're side by side signs and you wouldn't say that they have an aspect, they do sort of have this kind of like hidden contra antitia titled aspect, which means that they can be on some level almost like opposites, right? Like Pisces is a very sensitive, intuitive, emotional sign. Aries is the opposite in a lot of ways, right? Like very outgoing, very sort of brash and direct. And so, in that regard, there could be opposites attract type of energy. Your Venus is in Aries, his Venus is in Aries. So, you have the same Venus. So, you both have a lot of fire in your charts. And I think that's probably what there is a lot of like similarity there, right? So, okay. So I'm going to keep calling you Lucky if that's okay. So, okay, Lucky for you, you're a Cancer rising, Pisces sun, right? So that's your water. You have Saturn in Taurus. You have a bunch of air. So a bunch of fire, a bunch of air, not a ton of earth. He's got some earth with his Mercury and Mars. So a lot of times we also are drawn to people that have things we don't. So he doesn't have much water in his chart. None really, right? So you have water, so I think you can like help him sort of chill out and soothe the fiery spirit. And so I like that he provides a little bit of groundedness of earth and maybe kind of like stability, and you provide the emotional, compassionate, sensitive energy. The moon's in a sextile is also a good aspect. You have your adventurous Sagittarius moon. He's got down for whatever, let's do everything at least once, independent, independent moon in Aries. When things do get a little bit like where things are a little bit complicated is the fact that he does have, as you pointed out correctly, he does have Mars retrograde and in Virgo. So his Mars would square your Mars in Sagittarius. And while you can be a lot more impulsive at times, he may be like, he's a lot more methodical, I think, in the way he does things. And even romantically, if we're looking at Mars as the planet of like sexuality, Mars and Virgo will like plan sex and plan things. And you might be like, let's just have fun. Let's just do it. Let's sort of like go for it. So that's where maybe sometimes you can be at odds with each other in regards to like sexual compatibility. But I have a friend who is a Capricorn with a bunch of Sagittarius planets, and her partner has Mars and Virgo, and they have the square between them, and it works. Sometimes this kind of square can be enticing because you're like, why do you need to organize everything? And like, so he can help you be a little bit more organized, and you can help him be a little bit more spontaneous, perhaps. Lucky says, I feel like I'm brash and direct because of my Sag. Yeah, and that maybe is what helps, what helps unite your charts, because you both have those like brash and direct energies, and your Sagittarius can come out sometimes. But you also have the sensitive Cancer, and so the water can be helpful. Mike says, I mostly water and air. Yeah, we tend to attract people who have elements that we miss. Jekyll says, my chart is Pisces, the rest is earth, air, and fire. So is your sun the only placement in Pisces that you have? So, okay, let's see. What else? He's got Jupiter in Aquarius. You've got Jupiter in Gemini. So similar worldviews, I think. Similar tastes. I would say, yeah, I like when you have Venus in the same sign, and your Venus being in Aries is also going to be a sign of being direct. But you have Venus retrograde, he's got Mars retrograde. So there may be some things that, okay. So I feel like communication could be a challenge, and communication could be something you need to watch for, because your Mercury in Aquarius would be very detached and rational and factual in speech, and his Mercury in Taurus might be slow and kind of savor every word, and and stubborn, and very focused on like maybe material things, and you would be a lot more interested in like talking about politics and maybe like exploring unique ideas, and he can be a little bit like stuck in his opinions. Yeah, your Mercuries do square each other, and that could be sometimes tough. You have to learn with this placement to agree to disagree, which I am still working on in my relationship. It's not easy. His Mars squares your Moon, Mars, and Pluto. Yeah, that would be along the same lines as like Mars square. You just get a little bit of like sensitivity into the mix. Like he can come across as critical sometimes with his Mars. You might just be like, let's have fun. Let's do this. Let's go on a trip. And he might be like, this doesn't fit with my view of the world. This is not on my to-do list. Maybe tomorrow. So he's like, he's Aries, but I think at times that Mars, because Mars rules his Aries planets. So at times there may be a little bit of tension. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I think that's kind of like the first impressions type of thing. Could it work? Of course. There's always ways to figure things out, and you want a little bit of friction in a relationship to keep it exciting, because if it's just all easy and smooth, you're probably not going to be attracted to the person. Mike says, my current girlfriend is basically the opposite of me, but for some reason we're wildly attracted to each other. Opposites attract. It's been said before. It has been said, and it is true. Lucky, do I see anything unhealthy? I mean, I think I mentioned it with communication and conflicts and disagreements around taking action. I don't think anything else. Do I see him being too obsessive and controlling? Not necessarily. I mean, if that's coming through with his Mars, maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily like. And again, I'm doing a very like shallow first impressions analysis. I'd recommend getting a full-size reading. So I think I'm going to wrap up, everyone. Thank you for watching. Just the last announcement. Again, my course starts on March 7th. Come join us, study astrology, learn how to predict the future with transits, annual perfections, and solar returns. That is the knowledge that can help you foresee your own events and your own transits. You're welcome, Lucky. Good luck with this relationship. I feel like as long as you talk, as long as you try to understand each other, which might be difficult sometimes because of Mercury square, but people make it work. People figure it out. Like, I know another couple that's been together for like 5 years, almost 6 years. They got married last year. They have Mercury's in a square. They have other squares. And like, it really just depends on how willing you are to make it work. Mike is asking, can I find that on your site, Anastasia? Yes, anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can find the course. I also really recommend Mercury remedies for the upcoming retrograde. If you've already noticed that there's a lot of misunderstandings and confusion, it's only likely going to get even worse as Mercury goes retrograde. And I tend to stay optimistic, but I personally have noticed that the confusion has been just overpowering. And it's yeah, Mercury retrograde in the sign of its fallen detriment is complicated. So I'll see you guys next week, most likely. Have a good rest of your week. I guess it just started. And enjoy the upcoming eclipse tomorrow. Bye.